What's good, my friends? My name's Corrupt, and it is time to go over the triple clone attacks at Town Hall 12, starting off with the use of the dragon. First, you want to start off with your heroes. You're going to use your heroes on one side of the base to create the funnel. That way, what you're able to do is get rid of something like maybe a Eagle artillery, if it is possible, and you want to make sure that you're going in for this. Now, unfortunately, on this base, the super wall breaker is not going to be opening up the compartment that I want because it doesn't see this entire compartment as a full compartment. The holes in the walls means that it doesn't see it like that. Overall, the main thing I wanted to do was to try and get into the base, using an ice golem to prevent too much damage from my heroes, and that way it still allows me to power through even if I don't get to the Eagle artillery. On the other side, I'm using an electro dragon. This allows me to then go ahead and really start controlling where my dragons are going from the other side of the base. Pretty much, I kind of want them to go in like this while using that battle blimp as they start to move through. But overall, in terms of this, you do want to make sure that you use the Grand Warren ability early regardless. That way you're able to work yourself all the way across, all the way to the other side of the town hall. But overall, in terms of the clone spell usage, the main idea here is you want to deploy them not around the town hall, but in a line. That way you get the most from it, not just getting rid of the town hall, but also getting rid of other structures, letting the clones also spawn in other clones to also help get rid of other structures. Like in this case here, getting rid of the air defense and the multi-inferno without having to use a freeze spell, which I had to use occasionally. Now in this case, you've got two freeze spells. Since there was a rocket balloon CC and I didn't need a poison spell, dealing with the back end is very, very important. You've either got to use the freeze spells against the Tesla farms or against an air defense. If you have two free spells, you can do so by using that free spell against an air defense to give yourself some time, and also using another freeze for a Tesla farm, which allows you to then prevent yourself from taking too much damage and allowing your dragons to push through with no problem. That is just one of the simple tips that I can give. That way you can still get triples with this attack fairly consistently. Of course, this one took a lot of trial and error and a lot of mistakes that I made, especially with the clone spell placement, but this is something that you will be able to use learning from my mistakes. So here's the first live attack, and here's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to create one side of the funnel by using my heroes to go in for the Eagle and sending my dragons down in this direction. That's kind of how I want to take this approach. So I'm going to start with a baby dragon here and a baby dragon here with a super wall breaker right here with my barbarian king and my archer queen. So as this is going on, I just want to kind of make sure that they're going in. Looks good, so I'm going to use an electro dragon over here. That way I can start creating the other side of the funnel. Pop my king ability. It's looking quite good right here. Let's see. The queen should be able to step up. Let's send in the balloons and the dragons, of course, with their Grand Warden. And then let's drop in the battle blimp. So while everything is moving through, this is looking good. I'm going to use my Grand Warden ability, and let's drop in the rage. And let's drop the clone spells across. Let's see. Ooh, we might get a good one. Ooh, will some of them go? Yes, they will. They will go over there. And we still have dragons alive. A nice split with the cloned balloons. There is a chance they may make it over to the final air defense, but it's looking really good. No, let's not use a freeze on them. Let's use a freeze right here. Freeze up that air defense there. Let's see. Let's clean up just a tad bit. Get rid of that. So we don't have another free spell, but we do still have my queen's ability. This is looking quite good. We still have a sneaky goblin that we really don't need. If there was a CC, we would have had to deal with it, but overall, this really just goes to show you can use it against a densely packed base like that. Let's use my queen ability there. Luckily, we can reach the air defense, and that is a GG. Of course, if there was something like like a CC, like a super minion, it would be fine, of course. You would just need to drop in that poison spell. But other than that, if you don't really see a CC that's worth dealing with all too much, you don't need that poison. You can always bring another freeze. So, of course, that really always depends. But overall, that is how you can crush an anti-2-star base with a pretty dense core. Now you can also use this with the Inferno dragons and the dragons. How you want to think about this is you want to make sure that you're creating one side of the funnel with your heroes, the other side with an Electro Dragon. That way you're able to easily send everything through. One of the biggest things that you always want to look at is always going to be sweeper placement. That's something that you will want to consider. It's not the end-all be-all, but it is something that you do want to be very aware of. After you create the funnel, you can start to send in your dragons and Inferno dragons right the way into the base. The main goal here is to make sure to use a freeze spell, even if you have to use it early against a sweeper, and making sure to use that Grand Warden ability early so you're able to start moving yourself across. The main thing here is that you do want to make sure that you use the Rage and the Clone spells to deal as much damage as possible to other things. Even if your Blimp pops early, you can actually use the Clone spells to get the balloons to the Town Hall a lot faster. Now, if you are enjoying the content here on the channel, consider subscribing and ringing the bell if you want to see more content like this. After this point, you always want to just continue to start working your way across. If you got a poison spell to deal with enemy CC troops, you can deal with that. And of course, you won't have any spells after this, especially since you're bringing in that poison spell. Like I did in the previous live attack, you always want to think about those things. But overall, the Inferno Dragons and the Dragons really provide a very nice synergy together. It makes it very simple and very, very good for you to use, and it is something that you will want to consider if you're a fan of Inferno Dragons. Here is the next live attack, so let's go ahead and start off with my heroes up at the top. Use a Super Wall Breaker to break open, use a Baby Dragon here and a Baby Dragon here with a Sneaky Goblin. And then we're going to drop in our Ice Golem, Barbarian King, and Archer Queen, and that should be enough to get my Queen to start moving her way in. Let's sacrifice an Edrag over there while using a Sneaky Goblin as well. And let's use my King ability. He's going to get locked on. Unfortunately, he's going to die, but that's fine, because all he's doing there is to create the funnel. Drop in some balloons, drop in the rest of our Edrags with our Grand Warden, and our Battle Blimp. It's looking quite good. Let's pop my Queen ability. Let's also use the Grand Warden ability with the Rage, and then let's use the Clone spells all across, and that should allow us to get to the single possibly. We didn't get to that single at the top, so that's really going to be a big nuisance. Let's drop a freeze right here. So we didn't get nearly as much in terms of the funneling as what I wanted to get. Alright, so that is one of the bigger fails that you'll probably make with this one. Unfortunately, I think another freeze would have been so much better here instead of a poison. So in terms of Edrags, it's not really the best one, but of course, you know, it's still natural to show the fails. And I think that this one, if somehow it's able to get a triple, then great. I don't exactly know. So, of course, this one, I think it would have been better to bring another freeze. But I think another thing is I think I should have had my heroes go more to the right. So, that way, it would have been 10 times better. But unfortunately, the Edrags, I think, are going to start to thin out. Unfortunately, just because of the air defense and the single target Inferno. Oh, wow. It got super, super close. So, I think I just made a slight fail based on the funneling with my heroes, and that forced all the Edrags on the left, and nothing went to the right for that one. And I think my clones could have been better utilized for the Town Hall and also for some other structures. Other than that, unfortunately, that's going to be a 92%, but it's still very strong, and here is exactly why you can still use Edrags. Now, you can still use Edrags with the triple clone. It may not be nearly as strong as the other two, but it is still a very much viable way of using it. This is a very similar base to what you saw in the first example, but the same rules apply. You are going to be creating one side of the funnel. In this case, the attacker decides to create the funnel just on one side in an area very similar to me, but he is not entering into there. He's going to use an Edrag on the other side where the Tesla farm is. That way he's able to use the Edrag to get through it with no problem whatsoever. That way he can send in the Electro Dragons, the Balloons, and the Grand Warden with the Battle Blimp into the base. Using the Grand Warden ability early is always going to be important, especially in an Electro Dragon based attack, but then using the clone spells in a line in a way to make sure that you're able to get rid of the Town Hall, and also letting the cloned balloons go away from that so they don't take any more damage from that Town Hall bomb. You want to use either your 2 free spells or your 1 poison and 1 freeze to clear through the enemy CC and also maybe the enemy queen and other structures. In this case, you can sometimes even get lucky by having some of the cloned balloons get rid of an air defense on the back end. And overall, even though this attack does kind of require another freeze spell towards the back end, where having a freeze would prevent the air defense from locking onto many of those Edrags at all and taking most of them down, it can still be doable, as you will still be able to get through with Electro Dragons. As long as there's a good amount of chain, you can still see a lot of really good success. Unfortunately, in this case, there are only 3 of them, and they could easily be taken down by traps like Seeking Air Mines, so you always want to be very careful of those things. But overall, this is still a great army composition that you can try out. Edrags are definitely still very fun to use, and if you're not super comfortable with using Electro Dragons, this is going to make it just that tad bit easier. Again, I would recommend this versus more compact bases where there's a bit more chain compared to this one, but showing you against a decent, harder base is exactly what you would need in order to understand how you can take this against most different type of bases. It will take time for you to get used to it, but you will be able to get the triple with this attack. If you want to find out the Town Hall 12 Hydra, I would suggest checking out this video right here. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell and use code Corrupt, and I'll catch you in the next video. Corrupt, signing out.